Google is one of the world's most profitable companies, making tens of billions of dollars a year in ad sales. But this week, it's facing a global crisis after some of the world's biggest advertisers suddenly halted their spending.
The concern is where their ads are running, sometimes next to offensive content, including videos promoting terror and anti-Semitism. Here to talk about the search giant's troubles is Jason Tanz, editor-at-large for Wired magazine. Jason, so these ads are placed randomly on videos. It's not like the advertisers are choosing which videos to attach the ads to.
Yeah, that's right. This is kind of a problem of both too much technology and not enough, right? So the deal is Google has opened up to allow programmatic advertising, which is automatically placed across thousands and thousands and thousands, millions of sites. And YouTube as well places ads programmatically on millions of videos. This is not a human being going through and deciding which ad matches up with which video. And the problem is that when you do that, sometimes the AI fails, and the AI doesn't always catch offensive material, and then you end up with AT&T being advertised against material it doesn't want to be advertised against, or Johnson & Johnson, or some of the world's biggest advertisers.
Okay, so what does Google do about this? They released a statement saying this week they are reviewing ad policies and plan to make changes to give advertisers more control over where their ads appear. How feasible is that given the amount of content that we're talking about?
Well, it's a hard problem. I mean, part of what Google said they're doing is they're hiring more engineers to fix the AI, which doesn't seem like a very quick fix.
Yeah.
On the other hand, their initial response was somewhat passive-aggressive. It was the kind of like, I'm sorry if I offended you response. Like, I'm sorry our tools weren't simple enough for you boneheads to use. Right. They've stepped back from that a little bit. And what they say is that, this is just a few things that fall through the cracks. For the most part, 99% of offensive material is properly flagged and does not get advertised against, but that doesn't really work that well.
Right, you need to be batting 1,000. If you're a big company like Johnson & Johnson, you want to make sure your ads are appearing only where you want them to, right?
Exactly, and that's what the advertisers are saying. They're pulling their ads from YouTube, maybe they're pulling their ads from the entire programmatic platform until Google can absolutely guarantee 100% that their ads will not appear against offensive content. Now, the problem with that is that if you paint with too broad a brush, if they become very conservative and say, we're going to err on the side of not advertising, then you become an arbiter for what's offensive and what's not offensive, and different voices can be shut out or not make any money because Google's being too cautious. So it's a really difficult position that they're in. It's one they've tried to avoid getting in, to be honest with you.
Well, and you were saying earlier that there's 400 hours of videos uploaded every minute onto YouTube. I don't see how they can police that, even with AI. And do they look for, like Wikipedia does, do they look at users to help flag these kinds of offensive content? Yeah,
that's right. And they look at the way that, these videos are titled. They look at the descriptions that people use. So those things can also be those things can be manipulated as well. We all know from the entire industry built up around search engine optimization that you can tweak things to appear to be things that they're not. Right. So that is also a very tricky situation. I mean, the way a lot of this has worked, Facebook has employed armies of content moderators to go through any flagged material and determine whether or not it's offensive or not. The other problem is that these are global platforms, and different countries have, different kind of ethical rubrics. And so there is no one answer for everyone. The other place this gets really hard is, for instance, LGBTQ stuff. Is that offensive? Should that be, they've already run into problems with that.
Well, then it becomes a problem of censorship, right? In as much that dovetails with this whole thing. From a revenue perspective, when you're talking about these brands putting the pressure on Google, how meaningful is that in terms of the bottom line? So
they don't actually break out the numbers right now. By far, the bulk of Google's advertising revenue comes from its search ads, which are not impacted by this at all. But that's been true for a really long time, and Google has been very much attempting to develop different kinds of products going forward. And a lot of the growth is in video, a lot of the growth is in YouTube, and a lot of the growth is in programmatic. So it may not hugely impact their bottom line right now, but this is where all the growth is, so they really do need to get it figured out.
So if not the present, then the future.
Correct.
All right. Wired's Jason Tanz. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.